But today we have a reading from Matthew, and we're starting a little series looking at, I'm calling it The Incredible Jesus. The Incredible Jesus, because Jesus is amazing. When you read the word, sometimes you've been a Christian for a while, you've read these things, you know these things, it goes in one ear out the other and you go, yeah, of course. But when you stop and just take a moment, you go, that is incredible. And today we're going to learn something incredible about Jesus, something we've just taken for granted. We say it just as a truth, we know it, but I'm going to try and show us today why it's so important. So we're going to listen to the incredible Jesus as he tells his disciples about the end of the world.
So Matthew 24, the first 14 verses. As Jesus left and was going out to the temple, his disciples came up and called his attention to its buildings. He replied to them, "Do you see all these things? Truly I tell you, not one stone will be left here on another that will not be thrown down." While he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples approached him privately and said, "Tell us, when will these things happen? And what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" Jesus replied to them, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Messiah,' and they will deceive many. You are going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you're not alarmed, because these things must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these events are the beginning of labor pains. Then they will hand you over to be persecuted, and they will kill you. You will be hated by all nations because of my name. Then many will fall away, betray one another, and hate one another. Many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. Because lawlessness will multiply, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. This good news of the kingdom will be proclaimed in all the world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come." May the Lord bless the reading of his word.
So, it's day 18 of the year 2026. And from a news point of view, it's been quite a ride, hasn't it? How many good news stories have we heard so far this year? To the nearest round number. Not many, is it? It's been pretty bleak. So, let's look at some hope today. Jesus left the temple with his disciples. He was leaving the temple, and his disciples came up and started pointing out bits of the temple. Wow, Jesus, look at this. Amazing. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't this a work of art? And surely it was. The temple was one of the wonders of the world. It was a beautiful building, a marvel of engineering. King Herod the Great had started the project back in 20 BC. And Josephus, the Jewish historian, an eyewitness of this, seen the temple with his own eyes, he said, "The building lacked nothing that could astound either mind or eye. To approaching strangers it appeared from a distance like a snow-clad mountain, for all that was not overlaid with gold was of purest white." Wow! Look at this temple, Jesus. Isn't it beautiful? And Jesus responds, "Do you see all these things? Truly I tell you, not one stone will be left here on another that will not be thrown down." Cue stunned silence. What? Notice how specific Jesus' prophecy is. It's not a vague prophecy. He doesn't deliver it in rhyme, so you might be able to say, well, he could be talking about this, could be talking about that. No, he's talking specifically here about this temple. He's talking about the city of Jerusalem. He's talking about all that being totally devastated. It's difficult to imagine how shocking Jesus' words were. I guess it'd be like visiting New York City back in 1973. They've just built the Twin Towers, and imagine somebody saying back then, you know those big towers, tallest building in the world? One day they'll be felled by terrorists, fall to the ground, dust. What? But as amazing as such a prophecy would have been, if somebody had done that, Jesus' prophecy is even more amazing. If I stood here and said, you know what, America's going to invade Greenland, or I predicted, I don't know, China will invade Taiwan, or Sakir and his government are going to make another U-turn, you might go, yeah, possible. Because you look at the news and you can extrapolate and go, that's possible, that's happened before, or this is happening. So these things might happen. But no one's expecting the temple or Jerusalem to be destroyed. It's not going to happen. Because it's peace at the moment. Israel is under the Roman rule, yes, it doesn't have that freedom. But the Pax Romana is holding. And they're not being attacked, and Rome's not attacking them. It's a time of peace. As long as you pay your tax, it's all okay. How could it be that Rome is going to turn on the Jews and destroy the temple? It's absurd. And theologically, why would God allow his temple to be destroyed? It makes no sense. So you see, Jesus' prophecy is baffling, it's disturbing, and it's deeply unexpected. So no wonder the disciples think that Jesus is predicting the end of the world. Tell us, they said, when will this happen? When will this happen? Sorry, where were we there? That's the sign, go to sleep. When will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? You know, before he was Prime Minister, Gordon Brown made a speech in front of some pensioners. He was invited to a meeting, and he said to the chairman, how long have I got? Chairman said, 45 minutes. And so off he went. 40 interminably long minutes on pensions and whatnot. On and on he went. And at the end, Gordon Brown stopped and thought, well, he's done pretty well. Turned to the chairman, and the chairman stood up and apologized to the meeting and said, I'm really sorry, the food is all cold now, and the other speakers, there's no time for you. Gordon Brown said, well, I thought you said 45 minutes. The chairman said, no, 4 to 5 minutes. What a mistake. We need to listen well to Jesus. How long have we got? When will these things happen? Let's listen well. We don't want to make that mistake of getting it wrong, do we? The disciples were probably thinking such an unthinkable event is going to happen, I don't know, 100 years' time, 1,000 years' time. It's got to be, hasn't it? But Jesus explains this. There's going to be actually a gap. The temple will be destroyed, and then he will return. But there's going to be a gap between those two events. But one of those events, the destruction of the temple, is going to occur soonish. There's going to be those listening to him that day are actually going to see the destruction of the temple. They're going to see it happen. Big gulp. So will Jesus' words come true? You know, if you go to Rome, you can see Jesus' prophecy carved in stone, if you like, or a monument in stone. In the heart of Rome, near the Colosseum, is an arch called the Arch of Titus. Emperor Titus, before he was emperor, was a general, and he's the guy who sacked Jerusalem in AD 70 and destroyed the temple. And on that arch, there's a picture of the men, the Romans, taking the treasures of the temple and sacking it and bringing them back to Rome. And just down the hill from that arch is another monument, the Colosseum, big stadium. Took 8 years to build. And it was built by slaves, lots of them. 100,000, they say, 100,000 Jewish slaves taken captive by Titus and brought back to Rome. What horrors they must have experienced. A long journey, terrible treatment, and then 8 years building that. Jesus saw all that and it grieved him. He said, Jerusalem, O Jerusalem, how often I have wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. Jesus was compassionate about his people. It didn't make him happy that this was happening. It grieved him. But he still predicted it. The Colosseum and the Arch of Titus, these are monuments to Jesus' words made stone. Now you may be thinking this is all pretty bleak. Where's the hope? Let me show you. This bad news is good news because it shows Jesus knows the future. That's easy to say, but it's true. You know, in the Quran, you can read prophecies about the end of the world. But you know, Muhammad, he never made any prophecies that you can check out whether they were true. All his prophecies are a long way in the future. But Jesus has got a prophecy here. He's got a few actually, but here's one. And you can check it out. Did it happen? If it did, then you can trust his future prophecies. Nobody expected the temple to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed, says Jesus. Now let me tell you about how the end's coming. Jesus has got a track record as a prophet. You can believe what he says about the future. This bad news is good news because it means you can trust Jesus. Jesus' words are an anchor in the storms of life. In the morning, I don't know about you, I'm bad at this sometimes, but I grab the phone and I just do a quick scan of the headlines. Big mistake. The adrenaline starts pumping, is it? All that panic, all these terrible things, wars and rumors of wars. Ukraine, Venezuela, Greenland, Ireland, Iran, Taiwan. But as believers, we can take heart. We don't need to be scared. None of this has taken the Lord by surprise. He told us you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, because these things must take place, but the end is not yet. We live in bewildering times, don't we? Where wrong is called right, right's called wrong. We see our own government doing things, we go, how could they do this? Trying to ban jury trials, why? And then calling it a Christian thing to do. That's wrong. Euthanasia, terrible. Who would have thought that churches would go the way of the world and embrace a sexual revolution? Today we see some in the church giving up on following the Lord. Their love growing cold. But we're not discouraged because Jesus has warned us. He said, because lawlessness will multiply, the love of many will grow cold. We see parts of the church suffering. There's persecution, more persecution now than there was in the early church. More people dying for their faith. It can be really dangerous being a Christian. But we're not alarmed because Jesus warned us. He said, they will hand you over to be persecuted and they will kill you. You'll be hated by all nations because of my name. But we don't need to be scared. Jesus told us what was happening. It will happen. And like Noah, hidden inside the ark with his family, while the storm outside rages, we can be safe as we're bobbing up and down the waves in the storm. We're safe in Jesus while the storm outside rages. So I wonder, how should we respond to Jesus? I think the first lesson is we need to be alert. We need to be alert. I read a story this week about a lady in the Philippines who bought a really lovely statue of Buddha. Had a special place in her home and she worshipped it for 4 years, praying to this lovely statue of Buddha. And then a visitor turned up to her house and said, hang on, I'm not sure that's Buddha. I think it's Shrek. And actually, she had brought a model of Shrek. And she'd been praying to Shrek for 4 years. Imagine worshipping an imposter God. Jesus warned us before he returns, false prophets and false messiahs will appear. He said, "For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many." I wonder, would you be able to recognize a false messiah or a false prophet? If, I don't know, some preacher you admire, and he stood up and he said, "Yeah, Jesus is going to return. Easter Day, 2030. Would you know if that's true or false?" Well, the answer is it's false. Don't believe anyone who says they know the date when Jesus is returning. Jesus says about his return, "Now concerning that day and hour, no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, except the Father alone." So don't believe anyone who claims they know the salvation timetable. We don't know. And what if someone says, "Oh, Jesus, he's returned. He's living in a cave in Arizona. He's returned." We all fear missing out, don't we? Would you buy a ticket, plane ticket, and go and see? I hope not. Jesus says, if anyone tells you then, "See, here is the Messiah. Oh, he's over here," don't believe it. They tell you, "See, he's in the wilderness. Don't go out." When Jesus returns, it's going to be blindingly obvious to every single person in the world. You won't be able to miss it. Jesus says, "For as lightning comes from the east and flashes as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." He will come back in power and glory, the wings of angels in the clouds. It'll be a mighty event. It will be unmissable. I don't know what it will be like, but it will be unmissable. And what if some guy appears in Israel? He's all beardy and weirdy, and he's wearing the sandals, and he's doing great miracles, and they're showing his miracles on God TV, and they say, "This is the Messiah." Would you believe it? Would you get a ticket to go and see? I hope not. Jesus has warned us. False messiahs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. That's even true believers. So friends, we don't know when Jesus is going to return. The only thing that's certain is that when he returns, it's going to be obvious. It'll be unmissable. But we need to be alert. We need to be ready for when he returns. Because Jesus says, the Son of Man, that's Jesus, is coming at an hour you do not expect. Are you ready? So how must we respond? We must be faithful. Jesus challenges us to be faithful. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But he who stands firm to the end will be saved. I remember a talk when I was at university. It was in this Christian Union. A preacher came, and I wasn't actually there, but several people came and spoke to me about this guy and what he'd said. And he caused a big hoo-ha, a big shock. He said, "Look around you. Look around you." And he said, some of the people here today will not be believers in 40 years' time. There'll be people here who have been leading the Christian Union, and they will no longer be following. And people were looking around thinking, could it be them? Could it be you? It was shocking. As young Christians, it seemed inconceivable. We were the going-for-it Christians. We weren't just turning up at church because, well, it was a nice thing to do. It was a habit. No, we believed. We were on fire. We couldn't walk away, could we? And yet, sadly, that guy's words did come true. There were people who actually led this Christian Union, who are no longer showing any signs of life and faith. It's sad, but it's not a surprise. Jesus told us this would happen. Marriage counsellors, they talk about affair-proofing your marriage. And there's lots of things you can do to affair-proof your marriage. Make sure that, firstly, you've got to recognise that sin lives in you, lives in me. Could have an affair anytime. I pray not. But what am I going to do to make sure that doesn't happen? One of the same things we all do. We've got to make sure we have date nights, we're spending time together as a couple, that we're really talking, that we're sharing our lives. Lots of things that we do. Avoiding temptation. Lots of things to do to make sure that the marriage is safe and it's growing. That's just good, wise wisdom about looking after your marriage. But what about your relationship with Jesus? Are you future-proofing your relationship with Jesus? In my experience, the two biggest triggers which stop people following the Lord and continuing to follow the Lord, the two biggest things are suffering and problems in the church. Disagreements, arguments, trouble, whatever. It's really disappointing when Christian heroes fail us, but it happens. I've had people I put on a pedestal and go, wow, amazing! And then something happens and I go, oh no, they've had feet of clay. But that's always the way. All our heroes, they have feet of clay. They're not Jesus. Don't put any Christian leader on a pedestal. Please don't. It's a recipe for disaster. And then suffering. The fact is, if you're following Jesus, there will be times when life's hard. Are you ready for that? Or are you going to walk away? Have you got a theology of suffering? Have you thought about it in advance? Do you know that it still means Jesus loves you, even when life is hard? That he can help you? Or when you suffer, you're just going to curse God and say, nope, I want nothing to do with you. You know, in between the Arch of Titus and the Colosseum is another arch, the Arch of Constantine. It commemorates the Emperor Constantine, who was the first Christian emperor. It was a start in the new chapter in the evangelization of the world. Again, it's Jesus' words come true, commemorated in stone, a monument. Jesus said, and the gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Are you ready for Jesus' return? And are you playing your part even now, sharing your faith? Are you ready? Are you alert? Are you awake?